Today we are getting into African beauty secrets that are hidden away. We're talking African hair secrets in growing, maintaining, and embracing natural hair. Especially because I have also been on this natural hair journey, and of late I've been looking for ways to growing out my hair. So, if you ever feel like you have difficulties around your natural hair in terms of maintaining it and growing it out, then this video is for you because we're going to pick out some of these tips that these African women are using to grow out very long, beautiful, soft, natural, thick type 4 hair. And without further ado, let's get into it. Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. This is Tinuola, and right here I share valuable content. So if you like the vibe, please consider subscribing down below. Alright, like I said, today we are talking ancient African beauty secrets around the hair. We're focusing on natural hair, how to grow natural hair, how to style your hair, maintain your hair, and just love your natural hair. So the first thing I want to point out, which I think it's a beauty secret amongst these African women, is the sisterhood around natural hair. When it comes to braiding their hair, when it comes to styling, washing, applying mask, and just anything to do with their hair, there's this ceremony, there's this very therapeutic moment where they are chatting and making their hair and just helping each other make their hair. It's like helping each other look more beautiful, and they're really happy. They have this positive attitude around it. Now, I know that this is something that is common within the Black culture. This is something that we've passed from generation to generation. It's something that we still do up to today. But I feel like there's a little bit of difference here. Obviously, that's expected with, advancements of technology and the fact that we live in more developed society. But I want to see more of that therapeutic relationship in salons, with hairstylists, and amongst each other as friends or as roommates or as siblings, just helping each other style our hair, especially when it comes to our natural hair. You don't have to be a professional or an expert stylist to be able to, wash, your friend's hair and apply some mask in the hair. When we leave that individualistic societal thing that we currently have going on, when we put it aside and ask for help, we're going to see our hair thrive better. Because personally, I get tired, I get lazy when it comes to my hair, and one thing I would never turn down is anyone offering to help me with my hair. A lot of the salons right now are focused on wig installation, on braids, on just extensions in general, and we don't have enough resources. We don't have enough hairstylists and professionals and hair salons that are focused on natural hair itself, on how to properly take care of natural hair to grow it. And the next tip is braids. Okay, now let me break it down. Asian African women, the way they braid their hair, it's a little bit different how they go around it. So when it comes to braiding the hair, they do it to protect the hair and to keep moisture in the hair and to also retain length. And they don't really focus on using extensions to braid the hair. They mostly focus on braiding the hair with hair treatment products from the scalp to the tip of the hair, and making sure that the tip is well coated, well covered up. The most time they would use extension is maybe at the tip of the hair where it's weak and fragile, it's easy for it to break off. They would wrap it round with some extensions. For example, dead hair that fell down while they were braiding the hair, they could wrap it up with those dead hair, or wrap it up with any other extensions, plant fibers and so on, to make sure that the tip of the hair is well cared for and coated. When they also braid the hair, they could braid the hair in very, very tiny sections. There'll be less friction, less possibility for breakage, because the more the friction, the more your hair is moving around, the more breakage it can get. Also, they braid their hair a lot. If you look at ancient African photos of women, you will see that a lot of times they braid their hair or cornrow their hair or twist their hair or thread their hair, because we know that our hair is fragile, our hair is curly, and the more we leave it out, the more it can break off. So yes, they still style their afro here and there. Yes, they still style their hair in different ways, but they mostly braid their hair if they want to retain length and if they want to retain moisture in their hair. So that's very important in protecting the hair strands. They make sure that the hair strands are well coated from the root of the hair. They put a lot of oil and powder, like sherry powder, they put in the hair to make sure that every strand is well coated. They don't manage products, they put enough products to make sure that every strand is well covered and well moisturized. The other thing is when they braid the hair from the roots, they actually make it pretty firm. It almost feels like it's tight. They make it firm and tight. If you go to African stylists, especially African stylists that grew up in Africa, you would see the way they braid hair. They make it pretty tight. And the reason why they make it tight is obviously they're trying to make it look very neat. But aside that, they also believe that it helps the hair grow. I don't 100% think you have to make your hair too tight for you not to be able to breathe. So you can definitely make it less tight to reduce the traction. The other benefit to braiding hair, corn rolling hair, or doing African thread is stretching it out. So aside it protecting your hair and keeping in the moisture in your hair, you also do this to stretch out your hair. Right now in the natural hair community, there's a lot of focus around heat straining, heat damaging your hair curls so that your hair is straight. But this is something that these African women have been doing in the past. And the way they did it was without heat. It was by keeping the hair braided, keeping the hair in cornrows, and keeping the hair threaded. That way the hair is stretched out. So if you deal a lot with detangling your hair, it takes you time to detangle your hair. You have a thick, curly, 4C hair like I do. This is a good way to stretch out your hair without heat. Or if at all you want to use heat, a blow dryer, a straightener, you wouldn't need to use too much if your hair is already stretched out. Growing up in Nigeria, we used to do a lot of African hair threading. It definitely grows out my hair. That's something I look forward to, when I have to take down the African thread, my hair looks longer all the time, but it's very painful. I have to be honest with you. If you want to African thread your hair, maybe go with the Brazilian wool instead of going with the rubber thread, because it can be very painful. It can cause, that traction on your hair. Typically for the first 1 to 2 days, I wouldn't be able to move my head that much. It's usually that painful. But if you're going to do this African threading, try not to make it too tight from the root, and also go with maybe the Brazilian wool if you find that that's, easier on your scalp. These women also pack up their hair in scarves a lot, just to keep the hair moistured and to obviously protect it from dirt, dust, and it's also a fashion statement. So, use scarves if you can. African women have the best ingredients when it comes to hair growth. They have the best of the best ingredients. Those raw ingredients actually work a lot. A lot of times these days we get watered down ingredients. For example, you want to get argan oil, and over 50% of the oil is not even argan oil. So make sure whenever you're sourcing your products, you're actually sourcing it from the right source. Make sure anytime you're using raw products, test it out first on your skin and scalp to ensure it's not irritating you, because some people complain that some of these raw ingredients like shea butter is irritating for their scalp. When it comes to like powders and hair mask, for example, Shea powder from Chadian women, this is something they've used to grow very long, thick, lustrous hair. Mix it with oils, and they use it to coat the hair. And I noticed that when they use mask and powders in their hair, they actually leave it in their hair for a while. This is something that we don't really do. And I understand because of our society, we are hustling, we need to go around to work, to go out. And sometimes, it's a little bit weird or uncomfortable to go out with so much powder or so much mask. And pick a day where it's like your hair care day and put in the powders or the mask or the deep conditioner in the morning time and wait till like close to bedtime before washing it out. Some of these women actually leave these things in their hair for days to even months, like the Namibian women, which I've mentioned in one of my videos about unique beauty. Examples of hair clays from Africa are the Rasol clay, which is also known as Gasol, if I'm calling it right, and the bentonite clay. These are very common clays also within the natural hair community. The rasol clay, for example, is very mineral rich and it's packed with silica, magnesium, potassium, calcium. It removes impurities from your hair. It moisturizes your hair. Bentonite clay is also good in detoxifying your hair. Bentonite clay actually has more detoxifying abilities. It removes toxins from your hair. It removes heavy metals, impurities from your hair. And you can always mix both of these clays together and to ensure that your hair is properly cleansed, is detoxified, and is well moisturized. For African butters, some of the most common ones are shea butter and cocoa butter, and ghee butter or clarified butter. Shea butter, cocoa butter, these are common in West Africa, East Africa, North Africa. They have very similar benefits in moisturizing your hair, conditioning your hair, just keeping it soft. Both of these butters are also great for the skin, but shea butter is something I've talked about in my sunscreen video, where I shared that shea butter has some sunscreen benefits, about 4 SPF. And I know that's really small, but that's something to highlight. Shea butter is also anti-inflammatory. It's great for your scalp, for soothing your scalp, and it prevents dandruff because it's non-comedogenic. Shea butter is different from cocoa butter in that sense, and I'll come back to that. Shea butter is highly emollient, which means it goes into the pores in your skin and in your hair, and it fills up those pores. It makes it smooth. It gives it that moisture and shine that it needs, and it also seals in the moisture. So when it comes to sealing in moisture in your skin and in your hair, you need either an emollient or an occlusive. Shea butter is an emollient, cocoa butter is an occlusive. I think shea butter is also one of the beauty secrets of Ghanaian women. That's why they have very beautiful, dark. A lot of Ghanaians use shea butter. In the raw form, shea butter's smell is awful for some people. I'm used to the smell because I use it frequently. In Nigeria, it's also very common. But if you don't like the smell of raw shea butter, you might want to go for cocoa butter because cocoa butter has a better smell. Cocoa butter is also rich in fatty acids and it nourishes your scalp and prevents your hair from breakage and split ends. Unlike shea butter, cocoa butter is an occlusive, which means it's going to protect the barrier of your hair and your skin. It's going to seal in the moisture. It's going to give it this glossy sheen. If you have a very sensitive scalp, if you want to use it, focus it on your hair strand. If you deal with product buildup on your scalp, avoid using cocoa butter on your scalp. Use it on the hair itself. Shea butter, you can use it on your scalp because it's non-comedogenic. Ethiopian women also have a butter called kibe. It's very similar to the normal butter because it's made from fermented cow milk or cow milk in general, but it's slightly different. It's not the same butter we used to eat bread.
Salam salam. Today we are doing an Ethiopian hair butter mask. This is called kabe and andand gaze buna askabana batalin. This really helps with the smell. If and that gun min lela nagar yit akmal sabarashabakachu nagaru. I honestly have no idea what this butter hair mask does or what the coffee does, but my mom tells me to do it, so I'm gonna do it, girls.
And they do this to deep condition their hair. Let's talk about oils. I know you've heard about popular oils like castor oil, grapeseed oil, but what about marula oil? Marula oil is one of those ancient African oil. It has about 60% more antioxidants than most beauty oils. If including argan oil, it's deeply hydrating. It absorbs well into the hair strands because it's very lightweight, so it absorbs well into our hair texture. If you're ever going to get oils like this, like marula oil or argan oil or boba oil, please make sure you're getting it from reputable brands. Be very careful to be getting the real thing. So other alternatives for marula oil are like argan oil and grapeseed oil. Those oils also absorb well into the hair. They are lightweight. Another beauty secret of these African women is, I think, their climate. You know what? Our hair is so suited to the tropical climate, and I think that makes a difference. You know, I grew up in Africa. I've lived in the Caribbean, and I live now in North America. So yeah, I can tell you that my hair was definitely, there's a difference between how my hair was growing in those tropical weather to how it's growing now in the temperate weather. And I know not a lot of people believe this, but I think it's actually a thing. That's not to say you can't grow long hair in temperate weather as a black girl, but I'm just saying that the tropical weather is well suited to the hair. It's not as humid. It's not as severe, so it's well suited to the hair compared to temperate weather. If you live in an area where you are using hard water, that can be harsh on your skin and hair. This is something that I've experienced moving here to Canada. This is something I've heard people experience moving here to Canada. You know, the water, the hard water is a bit harsh on the hair. Besides that, I want to say stress, okay? I don't know how stressful life is in Asian Africa, but I don't think they experience the same amount of stress that we do in this developed world or in the developed cities that we live in right now. In the developed towns and cities that we are living in right now, there's too much stress and lesser quality of, rich products. So I feel like, these women definitely benefit from using like very raw ingredients that are very rich and they are not like watered down or diluted. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I hope you found this video interesting or helpful in any way. I definitely found it interesting when I was going through some of these materials to share with you guys, and these are things that I want to keep in mind getting back on my hair growth journey. And please give it a thumbs up, don't forget to comment down below and subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, but until then, keep shining. Bye.